There's a kind of victory that doesn't make noise. It doesn't arrive with applause, witnesses, or that childish urge to prove something to someone. It arrives the moment you choose to step off the stage for a while, pull the curtain, dim the lights that keep stealing your focus, and walk into the private laboratory where your mind gets rebuilt. That's why today I want to introduce you to an experiment that crosses generations, one of those principles that sounds simple, yet carries almost biblical weight. Like David hidden in caves before the throne, like Joseph silenced in Egypt before he governed. This isn't about disappearing from the world, it's about disappearing from what weakens you. Napoleon Hill taught that every great transformation begins as an intimate decision, an unseen pact with your own destiny. And if you look honestly, you'll notice how much of your energy is being spent keeping an old version of you alive. The version your circle recognizes, the version your habits repeat, the version distractions keep fed. You wake up, and the world calls your name. People pull on you, old impulses guide you, and when night falls, your soul realizes the day passed. But you didn't move forward, not because you're weak, because you're surrounded by noise that programs you without asking permission. Listen to this like a revelation. Sometimes God doesn't take you out of Egypt all at once. Sometimes He calls you into the desert first, because the desert makes the voice clearer. And these 90 days are exactly that, an intentional desert, a fast from distractions, a strategic separation so your mind becomes yours again. 90 days where you stop negotiating with the old self and start building, brick by brick, the identity of a finisher. 90 days where you step back from the social loop that drags you toward normal, from conversations that drain your vision, from habits that give you relief today and steal your future tomorrow. And here's the truth. While you're hearing these words, something inside you is waking up, like an old part of you remembering who you were born to be. This isn't hype, it's method. It's mind science applied. It's directed autosuggestion. It's purpose defined. It's consistent action becoming a new reality. And when day 90 arrives, you won't return as someone who tried. You'll return as someone who became. If this hit you, comment, "I recognize this truth." Here's a truth most people reject at the beginning, and that's exactly why most people never cross the line. Your life today is a mirror of the environment that feeds you, and I'm not only talking about the house you live in, I'm talking about the voices that enter you daily, the conversations that repeat like an old record, the jokes, the little ironies, the well-intentioned advice that sounds like protection but functions like a cage. Napoleon Hill warned that the human mind is influenced from the outside in with a terrifying ease. So when you stay exposed to the same circle, the same stimulation, the same problems narrated with the same words, you're not just socializing, you're being programmed. The most dangerous part is that it happens quietly. You don't notice how other people's energy becomes your energy. You don't notice how their limits start sounding like reality. You don't notice how lack of vision spreads like smoke. It's like walking into a room with a strong smell. At first it bothers you, then you adapt, and one day you don't even realize what you're breathing anymore. But the price of adapting is brutal. You start negotiating with mediocrity, calling survival normal life, and slowly your soul forgets it was created for expansion. That's why Hill puts the mind at the center before he ever talks about action. Because everything you build outside is born inside, out of your inner climate. And if your inner climate is urgency, fear, comparison, distraction, exhaustion, your life will keep producing exactly that, even when you work hard. Here's the spiritual key that stings but frees you. Many people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they spend too much time around what weakens them. They try to change while staying fed by the same noise. They claim prosperity while giving attention to the same conversations. They try to grow while still chasing approval from people who feel threatened by growth. And behind all of it is a silent mechanism: fear of being alone, fear of being misunderstood, fear of seeming different, fear of disappearing and losing your spot in the group. But there comes a moment when you must choose between belonging and destiny, not arrogance, maturity. When you disappear for 90 days, you're not rejecting people. You're interrupting collective hypnosis. You're pulling your mind out of the magnetic field of your old identity. You're telling your subconscious, I don't live by reaction anymore. I live by purpose, and purpose needs quiet to grow. Seeds don't expand during earthquakes. If this is speaking to you, subscribe to Wealth Rewired, because this is where we train this mindset until it becomes your lifestyle, your results, and your future. And comment, I'm waking up. There's a moment when it hits you with a kind of painful clarity. It's not lack of talent, not lack of opportunity, not lack of luck. It's lack of direction. Napoleon Hill called it a definite chief aim, and he treated it like a mental law, not a pretty phrase. When your purpose is blurry, your life becomes a reaction. You chase whatever appears. You burn energy on emergencies that aren't even yours. You end the day feeling busy, but not advanced. Movement without direction is just exhaustion wearing a mask. But when purpose becomes definite, something flips inside you like a switch. Your mind stops scattering into 1,000 distractions and starts locking onto a target. And focus is power. Hill taught that the mind is a magnet. It draws what you hold with repetition, emotion, and faith. Yet most people try to hold a desire while feeding a doubt. They ask for expansion while still breathing the same old environment. They affirm wealth while staying numb in habits that manufacture poverty. It's like trying to light a flame in the middle of a storm. That's where disappearing becomes deeper than social. It isn't vanishing from the map. It's leaving the magnetic field of your old identity. Because your current circle, even without bad intentions, keeps reminding you who you used to be. It reinforces the predictable version of you, the one that fits the old script. And as long as you're exposed to the same noise, your mind tries to be born again, but the past keeps pulling, like it still has hands. Here's the metaphysical turn. You decide quietly, without drama, that for 90 days you will guard your purpose as something sacred. Think about a seed. Before it becomes a tree, it disappears into the ground. It goes through darkness, pressure, silence. Not punishment, gestation. Your disappearance is your spiritual womb, the space where the new you forms without interference. Hill also warned about a silent enemy, indecision. Indecision keeps you emotionally available to any influence. One opinion shakes you, one criticism shrinks you, one conversation detours you. And so you never stay firm long enough for life to change. That's why a definite aim isn't only wanting, it's decreeing inwardly, this is it, I'm going, I'm holding. And then living like it, even when your feelings haven't caught up yet. Feelings arrive later, rewarding consistency. Here's a sign you can observe in yourself. If you feel guilt, just imagining pulling back. If your body gets anxious, thinking about saying no. If you feel the automatic need to explain yourself, this is evidence your energy has been more committed to other people's expectations than to your mission. Don't condemn yourself. Just recognize it. Recognition is the first act of power. A quiet mind can hear. And when you hear, you choose. When you choose, you become steady. When you become steady, life begins to move. If this unlocked something in you, comment, I choose direction. The first 30 days aren't about speed, they're about roots. Napoleon Hill understood something most people ignore. Before you change the world outside, you must reorganize the world inside. Because life follows the pattern the mind sustains. So in these opening days, your disappearance is mostly internal. You're not becoming cold, you're becoming unhooked. You're stepping away from the noise, not to hate people, but to stop being easily influenced by everything and everyone. It starts with a quiet vow each morning, before you touch your phone, before you absorb anyone else's tone, before you accept the world's urgency as your identity. You choose your tone on purpose. Hill called it directed autosuggestion, repeating your chosen identity and destination with presence and emotion, not like someone begging, but like someone imprinting. Because repetition with emotion isn't just words, it's programming, and a programmed mind eventually obeys. Then you write your definite chief aim daily, clear, specific, in the present tense, as if it's already real. Not to get motivated, but to condition yourself. After that, you close your eyes for a few minutes and rehearse day 90. The steadier posture, the cleaner decisions, the order in your finances, the respect in your own gaze. You're not daydreaming. You're training familiarity. What feels familiar becomes easier to live. And during these first 30 days, you perform a silent cleanse. You reduce exposure to what pulls you down, repetitive conversations, content that spikes anxiety, company that drains you, distractions that look like rest but deliver fatigue. The biggest mistake here is trying to reprogram while still feeding the old pattern. It's like praying for peace while keeping war playing on the screen. Your new self needs space to breathe. At night, you build evidence. Hill knew the mind needs proof. So you record small wins, where you stayed disciplined, where you resisted, where you almost fell back and chose differently. Not to shame yourself, so you can build trust. Because confidence isn't born from promises, it's born from receipts. Each completed day tells your subconscious, I keep my word. Pick one short phrase, simple, sharp, alive, and repeat it at strategic moments. When doubt hits, when laziness whispers, when fear tries to negotiate. Not to lie to yourself, but to align yourself. And slowly, you'll notice a quiet shift. Less need for approval, less urge to explain your plans, less hunger to blend in with what delays you. Silence stops feeling empty, because inside it, you meet yourself again. If this speaks to you, comment. I keep my word. Once you pass the first 30 days, something subtle has already changed. Your mind feels clearer. You react less. You can sense a new axis forming inside you. And this is where many people fail, because they confuse reprogramming with total transformation. Napoleon Hill was blunt. Thought is seed, but consistent action is harvest. Days 31 to 60 are where you prove to life and to yourself that your definite purpose wasn't a temporary emotion. It was a pact. In this phase, disappearing becomes posture. You don't have to announce an experiment, you just move like someone who has exited the old cycle. Your routine becomes simple, but solid, and you choose one main goal, the kind that actually moves your destiny, and you place your entire day in service of it. Here's the common mistake Hill would call dispersion, trying to do many things so you don't have to face the one thing that changes everything. The secret is focus. One real priority at a time, held long enough to produce a result. Because focus isn't intensity for one day. Focus is loyalty to a direction. Now you turn habits into rails. Rails don't debate with the train, they guide it. You set schedules, you reduce useless decisions. You design your environment so the right choice is easy and the wrong choice is inconvenient. Because wealth isn't born from explosions of willpower. Wealth is born from structure, and structure is spiritual too, honoring your future with discipline in the present. Hill would say it this way, poverty habits relieve you now and charge you later. Wealth habits demand now and liberate you later. And in these days, you start choosing liberation. You trade escape for construction. You trade distraction for skill. You trade empty conversation for study, execution, and daily improvement. Not as punishment, but as a declaration. I am not ruled by impulse anymore. And then comes the mastermind principle, but not as networking for approval, as alignment for elevation. You place yourself near people, rooms, and ideas that raise your mental standard, a serious community, a mentor, a disciplined circle, even carefully selected content that keeps your mind in a higher atmosphere. A mastermind is an environment, and environment reshapes destiny. You begin making decisions like someone who is becoming prosperous. You cut the unnecessary without drama. You handle money with respect, not fear. You plan projects with clarity. You deliver what you promise, you keep your word. Because the wealthy person before the numbers has a standard. Hill taught that riches move toward those who think precisely and act firmly. And firmness is doing the work when excitement fades, when nobody is watching, when results are still building underground. If this is landing for you, comment, I choose focus. The last 30 days feel different, because now life starts testing whether your change is real or just a temporary surge. Napoleon Hill understood this. The mind only accepts a new identity when it's confirmed under pressure. It's like destiny asks quietly, will you stay this person when no one applauds you, when the routine tightens, when the old world calls you back? And this is where your disappearance stops being an experiment and becomes a signature. In this phase, you're not just building habits, you're locking in standards. You don't rely on motivation anymore, you rely on decision. And decision in Hill's world is creative force. You begin to see how the old life returns through the most ordinary doorway. Small compromises, a distraction just today, a conversation just this once, a visit so you don't seem rude. That's why the biggest danger between days 61 and 90 is relaxing the moment the new life starts showing results. When the mind sees progress, it tries to negotiate rest, but rest without awareness becomes relapse. So you do something essential. You test your new identity in real life. You take slightly bolder goals. You accept greater responsibility. You raise your standard of delivery. You behave like someone who deserves more, not from pride, but from coherence. And coherence is the language the subconscious speaks. Every time you act aligned with your purpose, you tell your inner world, "This is who I am now." Every time you return to the old pattern, you tell it, "I'm still that person." In these final days, you choose to seal. This is also where you prepare your return to your social world, and it's an art. You don't return to convince anyone. You return different, and the difference explains itself. Hill spoke about influence. When your mind shifts, your presence shifts. People feel it before they understand it. Some will admire you. Some will be confused. Some will try to pull you back into the version of you they could predict. Your protection is simple. Don't argue. Don't over-explain. Don't justify your new standard to those who aren't ready to respect it. Stay kind, but stay directed. And here's the deeper consolidation. You start seeing yourself as cause, not effect. You stop blaming the day, the economy, your family, luck, the past. Not because those forces don't exist, but because you've realized something stronger. Your mind is the command center. Hill would call it total responsibility. And responsibility here isn't weight, it's power. Because the moment you accept that your reality responds to your pattern, you gain the right to change the pattern and harvest a new reality. If this is resonating, comment. I seal my standards. Now comes the elegant danger. And this part is decisive. You've changed inside, strengthened habits, hardened identity, and then you begin to circulate more, speak more, show up more. But Napoleon Hill taught something most people underestimate. Environment is not neutral. It talks to your mind. It invites you to loosen up. It offers shortcuts. It tries to label your discipline as too much, your focus as obsession, your vision as unrealistic. And if you don't integrate the spiritual with the practical, you return to the same magnetic field and slowly start orbiting the old life again. Integration means the new you works anywhere. You don't depend on isolation to be strong. The 90 days were an incubator. Now you become a furnace. Hill warned that sustained wealth doesn't come from a peak. It comes from a pattern. And patterns are protected by small decisions repeated daily, especially when no one is watching, and the world offers comfortable distractions again. So the first step of returning is choosing your environment with consciousness. You don't have to cut everyone off. You don't have to create drama. You have to select. You remember that every conversation has a cost. Some expand you, others drain you. Some sharpen you, others numb you. Maturity is refusing to call something friendship, when in practice it's an energy exchange that keeps you small. You learn to be close without blending in, to be kind without being consumed, to smile without becoming the old character again. And this is where networking becomes sacred in the most practical way. Hill didn't teach relationships as chasing approval. He taught the mastermind, minds aligned to build something bigger than themselves. So you move with intention. You connect with builders, learners, entrepreneurs, creators, leaders. And you do it by offering value, not asking for comfort, because wealth is circulation. The more useful you become, the more reasons the world finds to reward you. The spiritual integration is simple. Prosperity is not only money, it's order, clarity, discipline, stewardship of energy, time, and focus. It's keeping your mind clean from repeated negativity. It's maintaining autosuggestion even when life gets busy. Continuing visualization even when results begin to arrive. Because once results show up, another temptation appears, to stop feeding the mind. And then the mind weakens again. Hill would say the subconscious never stops being programmed. If you don't program it, the world will. So you make a quiet pact with your future. Every day you do one thing that keeps the identity alive. A short reading, reviewing your purpose, a few minutes of silence, planning your day with intention. You don't let the new life become normal too quickly. You honor it. And when an old habit tries to return, you don't argue with it. You replace it. Old patterns don't die from debate. They die from disuse. If this opened your eyes, comment, "I protect my pattern." Now breathe. Because if you made it this far, even if you were only listening with an open heart, something already moved inside you. There's a type of person who hears a message like this and feels a holy discomfort. Not anxiety. Not guilt. A summons. Like your soul remembers it was made for more. Napoleon Hill would say this is the moment destiny splits into two lines, the line of the ones who go back to autopilot and the line of the ones who choose a definite purpose and stop negotiating with their old self. These 90 days aren't a trick, they're a declaration that you will no longer lose yourself in distractions that don't pay the price of your dream. A declaration that you will no longer maintain relationships that keep you small just to avoid the discomfort of growth. A declaration that you will no longer live as the effect of circumstances, you will live as the cause. You may not have all the answers yet. You may still feel fear, but there is something stronger than fear: decision. Hill taught that the moment you decide with truth, invisible forces begin to organize. The mind finds ways. The body finds energy. Life begins presenting doors you couldn't even see before, because before you were looking through the lens of the old you. Now you're beginning to see through the lens of someone becoming inevitable. In the early days, the silence will feel strange. The absence of noise will tempt you back to normal, like returning to an old house just because it's familiar. That's where you win. In the middle, discipline will try to be negotiated with elegant excuses. That's where you win again. And near the end, when results start appearing, the last temptation arrives, relaxing too early. That's where you seal the miracle, because the miracle isn't one good day. The miracle is a new standard. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." And in a practical way, stillness is how you reclaim direction. When the mind quiets, purpose rises. When purpose rises, courage grows. When courage grows, the whole life shifts. So here is your decree, not as empty poetry, but as an internal command. Say it calmly, like you're engraving it into your spirit and your subconscious. I disappear from what diminishes me, and I appear for my purpose. I unplug from noise and reconnect to direction. I stay disciplined when no one sees, and I earn results everyone will notice. I think clearly, act firmly, and become inevitable. I attract people, opportunities, and ideas aligned with my mission. I am cause. I am consistency. I am construction. My mind is renewed and my new life has already begun. If you're ready, comment, "I commit to the 90 days." And subscribe to Wealth Rewired, because this is where we train the mind, build the standard, and turn discipline into destiny.